Welcome back to the Pagan Hearth community. As the year turns and the days linger beneath the warmth of the summer sun, we arrive at one of the most beloved full moons of the year, the strawberry moon. For many people, the strawberry moon is simply another celestial event, a bright full moon hanging low over the fields. But for our ancestors, full moons were never merely things to observe. They are markers of time, teachers of seasonal wisdom, and reminders that human life is woven into cycles much larger than ourselves. The strawberry moon invites us to pause and notice the first fruits of the year beginning to ripen. The work of spring is becoming visible. What is planted is beginning to bear. And with that ripening comes a question. What are you cultivating in your own life? Tonight we'll explore the history of the strawberry moon, its agricultural significance, its spiritual lessons, and practical ways modern pagans can honor this moment in the turning of the wheel. Despite what some people occasionally assume, the strawberry moon is not named for the color of the moon itself. It doesn't usually appear pink or red, although depending on temperature and weather, it sometimes can. The name comes from indigenous peoples of northeastern North America, particularly the Algonquin-speaking nations, who used the moon to mark the brief seasons when wild strawberries were ready to harvest. Unlike modern calendars, many traditional cultures tracked time through natural events. Instead of saying June, you might refer to the strawberry moon, or the green corn moon, or the harvest moon. Each moon reflected what was happening in the land around them. The strawberry moon marked the arrival of one of the first sweet harvests of the year. After months of waiting, planting, tending the earth, it began offering its gifts once again. And while the name itself comes from North America, the underlying idea is nearly universal. Across Europe, similar months were associated with ripening berries, honey harvest, grazing livestock, and the first signs of agricultural abundance. Different cultures gave different names to the month, but they were all observing the same reality. Summer had arrived. The hungry season was ending, and the land was beginning to provide. Modern people often think of calendars as abstract systems, but for most of history, they weren't. Timekeeping is practical. If you plant too early, crops die. If you harvest too late, food spoils. If you ignore seasonal cycles, people go hungry. The moon becomes one of humanity's oldest clocks. Every month, it offers a visible marker that anyone can observe. Just turn your eyes upward. The full moon helps community organize planting, gathering, travel, religious observances. But beyond practicality, it also teaches a deeper lesson. The moon is perhaps the most obvious symbol of cyclical reality. It grows, it becomes full, it wanes, it disappears and returns. Again and again, the moon reminds us that nothing remains fixed. Everything moves through cycles: emergence, flourishing, decline, rest, and renewal. The strawberry moon represents a particularly important phase of that cycle: ripening. Spring is a season of beginnings. Seeds are planted, plans are made, intentions are formed. But the strawberry moon arrives to ask a different question. Not what are you starting, but what is beginning to bear fruit? Many people spend their lives obsessed with beginnings. New projects, new relationships, new goals and identities. But wisdom is not found only in beginnings. Wisdom is also found in cultivation and experience. The strawberry moon reminds us that growth requires patience. A seed doesn't become a strawberry overnight. It requires sunlight, rain, good soil, protection, and time. And so do we. This moon encourages us to examine the things we have been nurturing: our relationships, our skills, our communities, our spiritual practices, and our own personal character. Which of these are beginning to ripen? Which are producing results? Which need more attention? And which may need to be released because they are no longer growing? The strawberry moon teaches discernment. Not every seed becomes a harvest. Not every effort succeeds. And that is part of nature, too. One of the most important lessons of this moon is gratitude. Notice that the strawberry moon doesn't happen at harvest time. The great harvests are still ahead. The fields aren't overflowing, barns aren't yet full. This moon arrives at the first sign of abundance, the first fruits, the first berries, the first evidence that the labor of the year is working. And that's significant because many people wait until they have everything before expressing gratitude. Our ancestors didn't. They knew something we forget. Gratitude isn't the reward for abundance. It's what creates the mindset that allows abundance to be recognized. The first strawberry is enough. The first basket of berries is enough reason to gather. The first signs of success is enough reason to give thanks. The strawberry moon encourages us to do the same, to notice what's already growing and to honor what's already been given, and to recognize blessings before they become so commonplace that we overlook them. Within many pagan traditions, relationships with the world are governed by reciprocity, the giving cycle. Gift for gift, relationship through exchange. The strawberry moon offers a perfect opportunity to reflect on this. The earth has given. How have we responded? Have we cared for our communities? Have we honored our obligations? Have we contributed more than we consumed? Have we nourished the relationships that nourish us? The first fruits of summer remind us that healthy relationships require participation. Fields produce because they are tended. Communities flourish because people contribute. Friendships endure because effort is mutual. Reciprocity isn't just a spiritual principle, it's a social one too. It's a cosmic principle. The strawberry moon asks us whether to evaluate our exchanges, whether they're healthy, balanced, and life-giving. The strawberry moon arrives close to the summer solstice this year, just a week after. Together, they represent the high tide of the year. The sun stands near its greatest strength. Life is abundant. Growth is visible everywhere. Bird songs fill the air. Fields and forests teem with activity. This is neither the quiet introspection of winter, nor the hopeful anticipation of spring. This is the season of engagement, of participation, of fully living. Many pagan traditions recognize this period as a time when the world feels especially alive, when vitality of nature becomes impossible to ignore. The land is speaking loudly. The question is, are we listening? The strawberry moon offers several lessons worth contemplating. The first is that growth requires stewardship. What's flourishing in your life did not happen by accident. Recognize that effort. The second is that abundance can lead to complacency. It's easy to stop tending to what looks healthy. Your garden will teach you differently. Things continue to grow only when they continue receiving care. Third is that not everything that grows is beneficial. Weeds thrive too. This moon encourages discernment. Not all growth is good growth. Ask yourself, what deserves more energy? What deserves less? What should be cultivated and what should be pruned? And finally, remember that ripening is not the end of the cycle. Harvest still lies ahead. There's still work to do. Celebrate progress, but don't mistake progress for completion. So, how might modern pagans honor the strawberry moon today? Let's explore that idea for a bit. You can choose one or two, or maybe combine these ideas. The goal is participation, not perfection. You can offer gratitude. Gather a small offering. Fresh berries are traditional and especially appropriate. Strawberries if they're available, but any seasonal fruit will do. You can spend some time reflecting on what has grown in your life since spring. What blessings have appeared? What efforts are beginning to show results? Offer thanks. Not because life is perfect, but because something has ripened. Something has been given, and gratitude strengthens that relationship. You can share some food. One of the oldest sacred acts in the history of the world is sharing a meal. Invite family or friends. Host a small gathering. Bring fruit to a community event. Bake something. Share something. The strawberry moon is deeply connected to the first fruits of abundance. Abundance becomes meaningful when it's shared. Hospitality transforms prosperity into relationship. You can walk the land or visit a park, a forest, a meadow, a lakeshore garden. Observe what's happening. Notice what's blooming, what's fruiting. Notice the insects and birds and flowers and trees. The goal isn't some mystical revelation. It's attention. The land is already teaching the season's lessons. You simply have to listen. You can conduct a ripening reflection. Take a journal. Ask some questions. What have you planted this year? What is beginning to grow? What requires more attention and what should be released? Write honestly. Write not aspirationally, not performatively, but honestly. The answers may reveal where your energy should go during the second half of the year. You can make an offering of service. The strawberry moon celebrates relationship and reciprocity. Consider making an offering through action. Help a neighbor. Volunteer. Support your community. Reach out to someone who needs encouragement. Repair a neglected relationship. The most meaningful offerings often aren't material at all. They're acts that strengthen the web of connection around us. On the night of the full moon, spend some time outdoors if you can. Sit quietly and observe. Reflect on the journey from spring to summer. Notice where growth has occurred. Notice where changes remain. Remember that the moon itself is a teacher of cycles. No season lasts forever. No hardship lasts forever. And abundance doesn't last either. Everything moves, everything changes, and everything returns. The strawberry moon is ultimately a reminder that life is meant to bear fruit. Not necessarily wealth or success, but fruit nonetheless. Healthy relationships, meaningful work, community, wisdom, skill, and character. These are harvests too. The moon asks us to look honestly at what we've been cultivating, to celebrate what's growing, to tend to what still needs care, and to give thanks for the gifts already received. As our ancestors understood, the first berry of the season is never just a berry. It's proof. Proof that winter has ended. Proof that spring has succeeded. Proof that the relationship between people, land, and season continues, and that is always worth celebrating. We are the Pagan hearth. May your relationships bear good fruit. May your labors ripen well. And may you walk in gratitude beneath the light of the strawberry moon. Keep the hearth fires burning. Good night.